Aha, got it. Yes, sir. Let's get this. Boom, boom, boom. I want you in my room. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. You remember the song?
Kind of.
All those cringy 90s songs.
A little bit here and there.
Yeah. The ones that like somebody's older sister would be playing. Like when you come over and kick it. All right,
Thing is,
listen.
though, is like when I was a kid, most of my friends were the oldest, so didn't really have to deal with, didn't really have that like older sister that was like in high school while you guys were like still in elementary and middle school type thing.
Yeah, I get you. At that point, you're probably like seeing the little sister, and if you look at her, you're creepy.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, bro, hey. She's 9, bro. Chill, chill. You're all in high school. Anyways, welcome to another episode of Me versus Me podcast. I'm here with Mason. Mason, you want to introduce yourself?
What is up, everyone? I'm Mason. I'm in LA for acting, doing a bunch of other stuff, play baseball, everything like that. And yeah.
Yeah, and Mason's a great guy. He's a great guy, man. Like every time I see him, he's always talking about baseball and stuff. But I've always kind of wanted to have a space where I could talk to you about some of the acting experiences that you go through.
Yeah.
Like dealing with the like I don't know the people in charge, but I'd imagine like the people with the clipboards come around and they're probably giving you a hard time. Like, what are those guys like?
There aren't really like people going around with the clipboards, especially with COVID. Because now back then with people with clipboards, it's like the audition, they're making notes, everything like that. But now with all of the audition process, everything's online, which is good and bad. Good because you can botch it as many times as possible, and really submit something you are super proud with. Bad because a lot of times people they don't, it's different seeing someone in person versus on a screen. Like right now you and me are looking at each other on a screen, but we've also seen each other in person, and it is different.
Yeah, I'd imagine that for the more intimate scenes, there's a little bit of chemistry that goes behind it.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you're there and you're looking at the script, it's like, okay, cool. You can add as much character as you want to that part, but it's way different when you're seeing the person. It's like, okay, you hate that person. You have to kind of like generate this passion face to face, and sometimes that's a little bit awkward if you don't really know the person.
Right. And like one of the first acting classes I did was during the pandemic. It was on Zoom. And honestly, like as great as it was that I was like learning acting during the pandemic when I'm kind of, sitting around doing nothing, I honestly didn't really learn that great of being an actor because, sitting at your desk, saying lines, looking at someone on a screen just was not it. And then when COVID kind of died down and I started taking in-person acting classes, I like went into the first class and I was like, bro, like I felt like I didn't even learn anything in that online acting class.
Yeah, damn. That I'd imagine it'd be pretty similar for me too. Except for I'd probably be acting a fool for the online. I'd probably be all crazy, like, wow, you know.
Yeah.
And then when I saw them in person, face to face, I'd be like I'd be like the best student, like very polite.
Right. I mean, part of it too is you're sitting in your room, so it's easier for you to act a fool in your room. And whereas if you're in a studio, around some people you've not seen before, you're like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah, they're all like, and they start writing something down. And you're
Hmm.
just like, oh damn, what are you
Yeah.
writing over there?
Yeah. I actually, it was interesting. My acting teacher here in LA, when I first started doing it in person, he actually told us that when he went in for when he was an actor and then he became a director and he teaches acting classes, but when he went into an audition, there would be this, the cast, it was old fashioned, with the clipboards and everything like that, and they would have he went in and one of the casting directors is on the phone and she's like, oh, he was so great, so it was like perfect for the role, yada yada, like really complimenting the guy who was in right before him. And he was saying like, oh man, that just like killed my confidence because it's like, all right, I'm going in and they're already talking good about the guy who went in before me, so it's like, well, what are the chances I perform better than that guy? But then couple, when we started directing, he met that casting director and told her about that story, and she's like, "No, I do that on purpose because I want to see how they react when they walk in."
Damn, that's kind of diabolical, but it also makes sense if you think about it.
Yeah, no, like when he dropped that part of the story, I was like, that makes sense. It's like, how do you deal with that situation? It's like, okay, they may have liked that. It might have been true. They might have actually really liked the person that went in before you, but it's like, just be better. Like, don't let that destroy you. Because in the acting business, that's, you got to be tough.
Yeah, and I think it should come to as a it should come to a remind like as a reminder to the person who's going up there because like, hey, this is it. They like the other guy, but now this is your shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially because I could see as a casting director, you watch hundreds of auditions, either online or in person, and you probably will see one and you're like, oh, wow, I actually like that person, but you're not done seeing the rest. And then you might continue through it. And then later you see another one, you're like, actually, I like that person even more.
I've always wondered how that works.
It's one of those things. I mean, I've never done it. I feel like it's just one of those things where if you're seeing hundreds of audition tapes, I would get just so bored just throughout it because obviously it's the same scene. If you're auditioning for one character, and you might get these people here and there. You're like, oh, maybe I like the look, or oh, they actually performed that well. But it's like at the same time, a lot of them were probably giving similar performances even if you like those performances, where I feel like I would just get so bored of it so easily.
Yeah, and what might also come into play is they might be looking for a certain response or a certain like build up to a certain
Mm-hmm.
part of the script, and if everybody else is just coming in and they're not really meeting the requirement, I'd imagine that it's a lot easier for them to just kind of like weed them out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but at that point, it's like it shouldn't be made to deter you. It should just be made to be like when it comes to like the message of the script or whatever it is that you like the person's supposed to bring to that role. You really have to highlight all of those values so that way when people do see you, they're like, yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's I mean, you hear this in acting classes all the time where it's like in an audition, 9 out of 10 actors are they're no different. It's like, okay, how do you be different from the hundreds of actors who audition for the same role as you? And it's hard. It's really hard to try to be different in that, because you could do like you see it all the time with famous movies, actors portraying certain characters, and you're like, wow, that is actually like really good. But at the time, you see these producers and directors are like, what the hell are you doing? A prime example I can think of is Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean. We watch Pirates of the Caribbean and we're like, he's great, playing Jack Sparrow, everything like that. But I remember reading that when when they were filming the first one, everyone was like, everyone thought he was drunk on set, and they're like, why are you acting like a complete drunk pirate? Like, this isn't going to do well at all. And sure enough, they were wrong.
Yes, because he killed it in that role.
Mm-hmm.
Like absolutely just and I was actually just thinking about Pirates of the Caribbean the other day, but I was like that movie was so epic that even though I had watched it, you just kept going back to watch it and watch it and watch it for like many
Mm-hmm.
years. A lot of people, or at least us, because we had it on bootleg. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
We had like a $5 CD that was like down the street from the guy who sold tacos.
Mm-hmm.
So we just watched the shit out of all of these movies. But that's adding to piracy. No quote intended, or no pun intended. I was a pirate too, Jack Sparrow. Ah, no. But yeah, so I mean, he killed it in that role. And then like when we were at Dave and Buster's, I was asking you, like, does it kill? Does it kill it for you knowing that you're a part of the industry, and so when you go in there, you kind of critique certain actors. You were saying that it doesn't, but like, what I really want to know was like, when you see something that you want to try, you're like, oh damn, that's good. Like, do you ever just be like, you know what, I'm gonna just that's going in the handbook. I'm gonna just write that down real quick. Just bam.
Yeah, yes and no. And the reason it's good with no is you don't want to copy actors. Like, every character like for example, in when you get an audition, every actor who goes in is going to have a different interpretation on how they want to play the character. And that's part of like the whole risk thing too. Is the casting directors might like how one actor, uh, their interpretation of the character is versus they might not like another guy. So, for example, let's say a character that is played very common, like a superhero, like a Superman or a Batman or like one of the villains or something like that. There have been many actors who have portrayed those superheroes and supervillains, but you don't want to copy a previous performance. So it's like, okay, you may have enjoyed that performance of that character, but then let's say down the road you get casted to play that same character. It's like, all right, they were great, but it's like I don't want to straight copy them. I want to actually like do my own thing. Because if you want to copy them, it's like, well, why didn't they just come back and play the character? You're just going to copy them.
Damn. Yeah, that's some logic for your ass right there. I would say that it wouldn't necessarily be like you copying their whole moveset, but more like certain aspects, right? Like here's the way I was thinking about it in my head. There's a lot of gangsters on TV or in the
Mm-hmm.
movies, right?
Yeah.
Each person kind of represents a different aspect of that. And so it's very possible to have people who have very similar personalities. You might see something that's very like common amongst those people, but in reality, what you have is gangster number one, and gangster number two, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you have one person tapping into a mentality, and then that's his. That's the way he goes about portraying it. And then you have the other guy who's basically imagining that same reality, but he's going about it his way of portraying that reality. And so I'm
Right.
thinking if you were the same, like if you were to tap in, like, okay, this is the character who they're trying to be. Okay, I like how they did that one thing, but this is my spin on it. Like don't
Right.
copy, but like maybe take pointers. Like, oh, okay, that was good. I gotta give him that.
Right, and actors do that. They will take pointers here and there from other actors because also when they're prepping for the role, they'll be working with those other actors. Because obviously when you're practicing a scene, you need a reader. When I'm doing auditions, I have someone behind the camera who is reading the lines to me. They may not be an actor themselves, but they will give me pointers and say, "Oh, why don't you do something like this or something like that?" Now, obviously, if you're working with another actor, they can give you way more pointers than just like a regular person who has no acting experience.
Damn, I didn't even know that was a thing. Okay, so I
Oh
guess
yeah, it happens all the time.
yeah, like I didn't know that there was somebody behind the scenes, kind of like oh, actually add a little bit more on that. But this is your line though.
Oh yeah, actors even will go to their acting teachers when they get booked for a role and say, "Oh, can you work on a scene with me here? And, give some feedback on how maybe I should portray the scene."
Dude, that's sick. That to me, that reminds me of like a UFC fighter, and
Hmm.
he's got a fight coming up, and then he goes into camp. His coach is basically gonna like, all right, cool, this is your fighter. They're gonna go over all of the attributes that the other guy has, and then they're basically gonna like just critique the fighter, get him down to what like the bare basics, and be like, all right, this is what you need to work on. Let's do it. It's
Hmm.
the same in I guess in acting too. That's crazy.
Yeah. No, yeah, it happens. You see it more with the bigger actors. Because one is you obviously got to pay for your acting teacher's time. They're not going to just be like, oh yeah, I'm free this afternoon. Let's do it together. It's like no, they're gonna charge you a little bit. And obviously, up and coming actors, we're not rolling in dough, so we can't do that every single role we get. Sometimes we just gotta either have a friend do it, because I here in LA you meet fellow actors all the time, so it's like they'll do it for free for sure. But getting the professional help for the small roles, it's like you probably can't even afford it in that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Especially like how you say you guys aren't rolling in dough, so it's like it doesn't make sense every time. But I imagine once you start getting that dough in, then that becomes an investment. That's something that you're investing into that's gonna make you a better actor overall, or at least that's gonna like probably secure more parts or maybe better quality while you're acting. Yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah,
sick.
absolutely.
Okay, so what about like some of the biggest takeaways for you? Like, what was your interpretation of what acting would be like when you first got into it, And then now that you're kind of there, what you're seeing, like, how's your mind state?
Well, in terms of like being on the sets and stuff like that wasn't new for me. Because I went to film school, so I learned everything like behind the camera on the set. And whereas like now when I do background gigs and stuff, it's like okay, I've already been there. But in terms of like breaking down a character, you can read a script and you right away are thinking like how you're going to say the lines, but it might not be how the character says the line, because a lot of times when you're playing a character, you want that character to kind of have that same personality as you. That's not always what casting directors are looking for. There are characters you connect with like right away. Like I've done it even in audition tapes where I read it, I'm like, oh, this is very similar to me personally. But one of the things is keeping in mind like, hey, this character does not have the same personality as me. So I need to say these lines not the way I would say it, the way like this character would say it. And then another thing that I learned a lot that I never even thought about, despite even my film school experience, is just how to act with on a set with cameras and the microphones and stuff like that. Because when I went to my first acting class here in LA, we do it in front of camera as well. It's professionally filmed where they've got the multi-camera, they've got a microphone, everything like that. And myself, not just myself, but everyone in that class, we were completely butchering like just general movement on the set because you don't want your back turned to the camera. Whereas if your natural movement, if you're on the set, might be to turn your back to the camera without even thinking about it. Whereas like they want you to be facing the camera at all time. Or when you're speaking, it's like, okay, you got to keep in mind there's a microphone capturing everything you say. You need to speak clearly so that it can do that, but you also don't want to be like banging something, like maybe fist on a desk or something while you're saying a line. So now that microphone has picked up both your line and the fist hitting the desk at the exact same time.
And then they basically got to reshoot the scene.
Right, because like for example, a big movie like Marvel movies or stuff like the movies that are going to go internationally, those movies get dubbed into whatever language they're going to be in. Well, if you're saying your lines without like other noise going on, they can just cut out those lines, re-record it into the language that they're going to show the movie on and keep that sound effect. Like you can bang the desk, just don't talk while banging the desk. Just bang the desk, start talking, bang the desk again, continue talking.
I said justice
Yep,
versus
exactly like
justice.
that.
It's like, damn, now we gotta hold up, bro. You just did that whole like cool 90 seconds. Now you gotta go back and get that last one.
It definitely happens. Like obviously the professional actors aren't perfect with that. And with there are times where they will make a sound, make a sound on the set. Are times they will turn their back to the camera. It happens, but the professionally trained actors do it way less often than someone who has never acted before.
Yeah, damn. And so okay, now when you're there, right, and your mentality is like, I want to say like you're now paying attention to some of the things that are, I want to say best practices, right? Some of the best practices in the craft, because it's definitely all about. It's an art. I feel it's a skill, and so you have to be able to creatively, like sell yourself, but also you have to reflect on some of the things, the do's and don'ts, right? But have you ever just had some moments where it's just like just a blooper, just like a complete
Uh,
fumble?
Yeah, and you really don't want to do that when you're a background actor on set because, when you're a background act, like when I'm the main actor and I just, botch something, it's like it's whatever, we can kind of laugh about it. Now, if you're doing it, if that was like the fifth, sixth, seventh take and you're still doing that same thing, it's like, okay, come on. But as a background actor, you don't want to botch the scene for whatever reason if the main actor actually had like a good take there, but the scene gets botched because you as a background actor messed up or something. what they happen all the time as a background actor is they do it. It's called crosses. It's basically like, you walk in the middle of the scene here and there to kind of make it more authentic. You see, watch any scene, you'll see people walking back and forth, whatever. And there are times too when you do the first take of a shot, they'll tell you, hey, at this time, cross here, go from here to here. Okay. And then they do a take and you do the cross here to here. But let's say you do run into the main actor because they're walking too. It's like they're supposed to walk ahead of you, and the timing kind of got messed up in which you walked in front of them and cut them off. They're gonna be like, "That's okay. Let's not do that the next take." But I've been on set where they're filming the scene. Everyone's doing their crosses here and there, and a background actor's phone goes off. And it's besides just being on set, it's just in general, like, it's pretty embarrassing when your phone goes off. It's even more embarrassing when you're a background actor, because the main star is an actor by the name of Stephen Fry. He walked off the scene, and after the director said cut, he's smiling and goes, "Oh, someone's getting fired."
Damn. Yeah, that's wild. I mean, and then just think about like all of the people who like were like low key kind of looking at you like, ooh, like damn, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of tension.
Yeah, I mean, being a background actor, when it comes, it's just small general rules like that. It's like, you can, many people can do it. It's really not that hard, and and it is good pay, especially if you've got some extra free time on your hands. I've met people who they work full time, but they just do it just for fun. That's great, but it's like at the same time too, it's like you don't have much direction. So when you botch that very little direction you get, it's like, are you kidding me? And some of these people do want to move up to become speaking actors and stuff like that. It's like, if you're botching this as a background actor, who's to say you're going to do this? You're not going to do this as a supporting or starring actor.
Yeah, like do better. Like, even if it's not like everything you want to do in life, but still you do want to kind of move upward with it, you cannot be making those mistakes like that
Yeah.
continuously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I'd imagine for someone like you, you actually want to take it seriously, right? Or what are some of your goals in the industry?
It depends, because like, obviously I knew at some point I was going to work in the film industry, because I went to film school. I've worked in front of the camera and stuff, and I like it. I like background acting. I haven't gotten any speaking roles yet. I'd like to do that first. Um, but either way, it's like working behind the camera as well, because I've been like editing all those softball videos and stuff like that. That I enjoy too. It's really just whatever opportunity arises, um, to best pursue it. Like, I obviously don't want to completely give up on acting just to work behind the camera. I also don't want to completely give up working behind the camera to
Work in
pursue
front.
acting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that it's different facets of the same diamond. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like
Oh yeah, absolutely.
there's a lot of angles and ways that you can get to it, but in reality, I think it's whatever's gonna be more authentic to you. That's what you want to try to like focus on because, like, take me. I make music, right? I started off
Hmm.
just writing raps in my book, and never really recording. And then that's what taught me. Oh, okay, cool. Like now, you have to have a certain presence when you're recording your music. So it's like, if I want to be a rapper, I gotta learn how to sound good when I'm recording too, and
Hmm.
then you start to see like, oh, okay, cool. Well, now I sound pretty decent when I record. Now I got to go perform it live, so I got to make other people think it sounds dope too, right? And then so that's
Yeah.
a different aspect of being a rapper. And then guess what? If I want people to be able to like, oh yeah, I think you sound dope. Where can I find your music? I got to do the distributing, right? So now I got to put it on the Spotify, put it on the iTunes, or I have to have like some sort of like base platform for people to come and be able to support my music. And then you got to do the marketing, and then it's like all of this is just different angles of the same diamond for me when it comes to rapping.
Oh yeah, no, it's the same thing there. One of the things when you're on set, you get a lot of downtime on set, and you do make connections. You meet a lot of people here and there, and you try to see. Oh yeah, I'm film. You meet a small time filmmaker. Oh yeah, I'm doing this small film. Would you like to star in it? and you know, everyone's like, yeah, sure, you know, I'll do that, or I'll at least audition. Like they're, you know, they're obviously not going to just hand out roles like that. They're like, at least audition.
Yeah, and that's networking, which is also
Hmm.
important too, right? Like, let's be honest, because you might
Um,
have a buddy who's like, "Hey, yo, there's this role. It's perfect for you. I think you're gonna kill it. I saw you at the last spot. I know you didn't get it, but this one's all you got to do is just be yourself." And you show up, and they're like, "Yeah, like this guy."
yeah,
So
yeah,
I don't.
no, absolutely.
It's gotta come clutch. Also, like I don't know how it really works when it comes to agents because I've never had one. But last guy I had on here, he was an actor. He said that he went through somebody else's other agent, and then that eventually led to him to be like on the Mayans MC and do a couple music videos and stuff. So it's like people introduce you to people they know, and then that type of networking can also get your foot in the door
Yeah,
eventually.
that's been a little bit of a struggle, is, you know, finding an agent, because there are times for sure where I will go on, you know, those acting websites and just crank out submissions, you know, submit to all these different stuff. But then there are times too where it's like I'm busy, like I got you know, working, or you know, we got a lot of baseball, or you know, stuff like that, where it's like I can't constantly be sitting at my computer submitting stuff. And not to mention, you know, so I can only make so many connections in the industry. So it's, you know, I don't have an agent, and I'm still like trying. I'm not like super hard trying, but like I'd prefer to get an agent, because I know um, it's definitely going to help with like just opportunities. But the thing is too, is in, you know, obviously in LA, in this industry, and it goes for music as well as like other performances, is because there's so many actors, there's also so many agents. And obviously there aren't that many, there are good actors, but there aren't, some of those actors aren't great. Same goes for the agents. Is I've met actors who have agents, but their agents don't really do anything. They've actually gotten themselves more work than their agent has, to the point where they always just drop their agent, because it's like, what are you doing for me?
Yeah, and my bad. Like I don't know exactly what it's like in the industry, so I just gotta depend on all of these comparisons. But to me,
Mm-hmm.
that's like having a boxing coach that he doesn't really like prepare you for the fights. He doesn't put you out there. He didn't set anything up, and then it's kind of you having to take like initiative when it comes to that kind of stuff. Eventually, you can get a better coach, a better trainer. You just drop his ass.
Yeah.
Uh, because realistically you have to be able to look out for whatever it is your best interests are. But if you see that the person that you have around you just isn't, then eventually you're going to come to realize that I think I might have I might have made the wrong choice.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I'd imagine with so much like social media, you got TikTok, you got Instagram Reels, you got YouTube Shorts and stuff. Bro, you can crank out a lot of content that will eventually get your face in front of whoever. And even if you're not at like a freaking audition or something, and I said this to you like when we were in person, right? Like I was talking about the skits or whatever. But I'm like, if you
Right.
put your face in front of the right people, eventually the right people will be like, oh yeah, this looks like someone, yeah, we could use. And you can
Mm-hmm.
put yourself out there like that, because that's also not bad publicity.
Yeah. And another piece of advice I actually got from a guy, um, which actually wasn't bad, is he too was an actor, or it was is an actor. And the advice he gave me was, you know, you're here in LA, big, one of the biggest markets in the entertainment industry, period. He said, if you don't get anything major within a couple years of being in LA, move to a smaller market like Atlanta, New York, you know, the Chicago, stuff like that. Because in the big market like LA, there's so many of you don't stick out as much, because there's just so many of you coming from all over the place. You know, like for me, it's like, oh, tall white guy. There are plenty of tall white guys in LA. But you go to, you know, Atlanta, there might not be as many in Atlanta. So in Atlanta, you get all the, you know, you'll get a bunch of gigs here and there, stuff like that.
What is it called in the industry again? It's not profiling. It's uh
Typecasting.
typecasting. You get typecasted. Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
it's one of those, like, no matter how much the industry says, we're trying not to do this, stuff like that, they just naturally do it, because the problem is just the human brain just naturally, like, you can't, for example, Spider-Man, the character of Spider-Man, you need a nerdy looking person, to play Spider-Man. You could try your best and get this, tall, masculine looking guy to play Spider-Man, but no one's going to believe him.
No, hell no. Yeah, 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 for sure. And especially because you have Peter Parker, who his character isn't he's not the Flash, you know? He's not
Mm-mm.
like Flash, the big guy who gets the girls. He's the background character of his own cartoon at
Right, right.
first until he gets bit by the spider. Then he turns into like, but even then, his character remains low key. And I think that like it's his character type that makes something like that work for him without being so without being so flashy.
Yeah, and in one of my acting classes, we did this exercise where you stand up, one person will stand up, go into the front of the class and just stand there. The rest of us typecast the fuck out of them. So the only thing we know is we know we see their look, and this was online. This was my Zoom stuff, so they told us their height. But obviously, if you see them in person, you'll know that. But then the rest is everything. What would you cast them as? And you know, and even my acting teacher was like, if it's extremely typecasting, just do it.
They're
And
all
we had this
roasting the
one
hell
guy.
out of
Yeah, yeah, it was anonymous though. So like, you could be extremely typecasting and they won't know who specifically in the class said it. But we had this one guy in the class who he's Middle Eastern. And sure enough, when he got up in front of the class, every single person, myself included, terrorist,
Oh
those
no.
the bad guys type. And I had that, but I'm sitting there too. I'm like, bro, like, give, like, obviously everyone here is saying that, like, what else can I put him as? And I put him as like gangster or like mafia member, stuff like that, but it was all kind of still the same general roles.
He's the bad guy.
Yeah, yeah, like it
He's
was all like
shady.
bad guy type roles, but it was just like, it happens though. That's the thing. Like, there's nothing. It's just the way us humans perceive. We judge people all the time. You'll see them. Oh, that is the so and so.
Right. And I think that it's different in movies because they need obviously somebody to portray. You know, they need
Mm-hmm.
somebody to represent that angle or just that person even if they're not saying anything, right? Sometimes you'll look at the science behind the TV screen and you're like, "Damn, why does that look so perfectly put together?" You know, like somebody thought it out. They're like, nah, we need a guy over there. He's gonna have like a basic hoodie on with a zipper. He's not gonna say nothing. He's just gonna look like he's supposed to be there or something. And then you see the scene, and then like the character walks in front, and then he looks at the other guy, and the guy's just minding his business, and it plays off. You're like, damn. But it was a portrayal of someone's mind, which means that they had to have like someone who would fit that description, and that person was a tall white guy. So like you might get typecast for that.
Oh, well, was my acting teacher. The reason he came up with that exercise was he was auditioning for the lead characters, the hero, everything like that, and wasn't getting casted. And in his acting class, they did it, and all the people in his class said nerdy sidekick, goofy best friend. So sure enough, he starts auditioning for those types of roles, and he's getting them.
Damn. Yeah. So I mean, like, not everybody's gonna be the Captain America, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes you need to be Peter Parker's best friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need to be Ned.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what's crazy is like everybody loves Ned. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
no, he's you could portray a character and be a likable character to where like you get as much love as Tom Holland and Peter Parker. It's just one of those, like, how much do you want to put in the effort to try to make this character a likable character?
True. And also, let's be honest. Sometimes it's an ego thing. People are like, "Oh yeah, I gotta be the knight in shining armor. I gotta be the cool guy, the tough guy." Like, actually, bro, you don't. Actually, in this case, you just gotta be the dork. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you got to be the dork that everyone's like, ah, all right, whatever, this guy, cool. But it looks good on film because the people who they're watching the movie, they're like, hey, I like that guy. Like, like he says something stupid, like how I would, and then it becomes a thing for the people like enjoying the movie later on.
Yeah, like audience members like characters that they can relate to. They can't if and you got to realize this too is like the hero, that saves the day. How many people could you say is like the hero that saves the day? Probably the general, maybe military or firefighters, police officers, those types of people. But like the average Joe is not going to be the hero who saves the day. If maybe once in their life, if there's just a moment like that, but like you're not normally going to do that. You're going to be the goofy sidekick most of the time. That doesn't really do much.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. And what's interesting about it is you have that person who eventually gets the part as the nerdy sidekick, gets it, and they're like, all right, cool. I'm just gonna make this my thing, right? I'm gonna take the part and I'm gonna run with it. And then they're just as famous as the Zendaya, the Tom Holland, like
Mm-hmm.
people notice them. Like it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, they'll get the recognition. It's just like how much it it's just people in their mind think they want to do something and they don't realize when other people say no, we think you're a better fit for this other thing, that it's actually better for them. Some people are very open to it and it ends up working out in the end, but most people, they're just like, no, I prefer to do this. I think it all the time in professional sports where every, you're playing sports and you're like, oh, I want to play this position, whereas the personnel and the coaches might say, no, we think you're better off at this position, and you could switch positions and end up being a Hall of Famer. But there's also many of those people who say, no, I think I should be this position, and they don't have a great career.
Damn. Yeah. And then there are those people, those outliers that they say, I think I'll be better in this position, and they actually kill it from there.
Mm-hmm. Oh
But
yeah.
I mean, those are some of the most dedicated. Like those are the Kobe Bryants. They're just absolute legends. They're dedicated to their craft, like Michael Jordan. You know, they go all in, bro. They shoot for the top, and they do not what's the word compromise. But let's
Oh
be
yeah.
honest, how many people actually have that level of dedication?
Not many. Not many.
Yeah, that's why they're the Kobe's. The they're
Mm-hmm.
at that caliber. That's an interesting thing to say. Yeah. So, are you working on any projects right now currently?
Not at the moment. I've been submitting auditions here and there, and I've gotten availability checks for background stuff. It's really just one of those. You get those times here and there where you kind of just lose a little motivation, and you're like, I try to get back into it, but at the same time, it's like, let me take a quick breather. That's kind of where I'm at the moment. Since the strike, it's been pretty slow. I just recently joined the actors union, which is that's a good thing long term because that's what every actor strives to be. But it's just one of those, you know, getting back into it consistently. Because when I first was here in LA in like 2022, I was getting a lot of background acting gigs here and there and really like working my way up and stuff like that. But then when the strike hit and for the majority of 2023, and then since then in 2024, it's been pretty slow.
Right, definitely, and I can see how that kind of halted things because especially when you're coming in fresh, new, you have these ideas. All right, at least you're willing to adapt. You have a lot of momentum going for you, and what could like eventually lead to I don't want to say like lead to, but I can say that like what ruins that sometimes is when something just suddenly stops it. But that could also be a good thing because here's why. Sometimes you actually come back even better because you're more worldly, you're more experienced. Now you fit you qualify for this position instead of this position.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not always a bad thing, but it can definitely deter you if that momentum is all you had going for you.
Right, right, yeah.
Yeah, and like it's just like you're just getting your reps in. Especially you being union now, it's all about you just getting your reps in.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd imagine at like when you were in high school and you were playing baseball. You played high school. You played baseball in high school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if you didn't play baseball in high school. You were just like this knowledgeable just
Mm-hmm.
from watching. Anyways, so yeah, like your coach would make you drill it, drill it, drill it, drill it, drill it, drill it till you know it, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And then after all of those repetitions, eventually it just clicks.
Yep.
So it's like anything in life. It's like me and the music. I record, 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 record. Boom, that's the perfect take. I go to the
Mm-hmm.
gym, work, 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 work. Boom, now I got it. So okay, now you and I actually talked about doing some of these skits, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you said that from an actor's perspective, this is where you're at now. Now, when it comes to being a filmmaker or actually having the experience in production, have you ever thought about doing like your own movie so that way you can kind of like typecast yourself, but also how like some people do that? They'll make a
Right.
movie.
Um, Not really. I've when I worked when I went to school, it wasn't so much for wanting to be a director or a producer or a writer. It was more so editing. Like I would sit on the computer, edit, films and stuff and all that. And that I really enjoyed doing, but I've never really thought of I have thought about just doing scenes. Like I came up the other day with a little skit that's like a scene for softball that's softball themed that I'm going to film my buddy, and that's like a quick 1 minute video or something like that. But I've never really thought of making like a full on short film or something like that and typecasting me in it.
Yeah, I'd say that because it's how you revitalize a situation where you already feel like, all right, this is kind of draining me now, or maybe like you need to take a step away from it. How do you do that while actually still advancing in it?
It's one of those you can't completely step away from it. I think a lot of people, when they're experiencing maybe a little bit of burnout or a lack of motivation, they really just completely go away from it. Where it's like, no, if you want to take a breather, that's okay. It's like this, it's a marathon, not a sprint. But instead of just straight, when you're running the marathon and you need a breather, you're not just straight stopping, you're just slowing down a little bit.
Right, you're resting, and I would say that you kind of consort with the people around you, so that way you have that a little bit like you're still in the squabble, you're still in the scrum, you're there, you're not the guy at the front of it, and you're not the guy at the back, but you're kind of one of those bodies on the side, and then eventually, just by staying in that element or in that like little circle, boom, you get the ball across. It's touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a push, but reality, you staying in position is what gets you there versus you being like, oh, okay, I'm gonna start walking back to the benches, go sip some Gatorade. Like, nah, bro, it's not how that's not how that works. It's
Yeah.
consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I'd imagine that like being because I love martial arts, right? I know I'm talking about myself a lot, but like it's true. I do love martial arts, and one thing that I've learned is like the teachers when they're teaching us, they're also learning. So by them doing it is them they're teaching you, but they're also understanding it from a deeper perspective. So I'd imagine that like at some caliber in filmmaking you're gonna have a deeper understanding for the role versus you just being an actor and you're like, I just want to act.
Oh
Like
yeah.
you can be like, nah, you know what? This is what this character needs. And then the filmmaker be like, yeah, hell yeah. Like, way to go on the delivery, man.
Yep. And that
Yeah.
happens all the time in the film industry.
Yeah. So sometimes I guess it's just like it's not necessarily something that's gonna take you like make you stop doing it, but it's gonna revitalize by I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. I think it
Uh,
was gonna be something like refreshing, refresh your perspective. I don't know. Have you ever thought about getting surgery so you can have like the The crazy jawline, the high intense cheekbones.
No, I have not. I think one time at Dave and Buster's, when I was serving, I actually did have someone ask me if I got fillings on my jaw, and it threw me off because it was I've never been asked that question before, and I was like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, your jaw. Like, who did you get it done somewhere?" And I was like, "No."
Damn, my boy was flirting with you, wasn't he?
Oh, bro, they it was like three guys who were clear as day gay, wearing makeup, like not just like the you know how sometimes girls will wear makeup where it's like you don't really notice, like they'll notice it, but like us as guys won't notice it. But then there's also that makeup that like you notice. They were wearing makeup that like you noticed.
Yeah, he's like, damn, I like that jawline. Yeah. Oh, you work out? Oh, you got muscles? Damn. You're like, yeah, okay. So what did you want on the side of that? Like, did you want fries?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, you said that this was in the Hollywood. It was in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
So we get like over there we get tourists because we're on the Walk of Fame. We'll get some downtown people, West Hollywood people.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy, right? Is because you get a lot of people from all over the world, but you also get the locals, and those guys are kind of crazy too sometimes.
Oh, bro, the LA locals. I feel like they're the ones that drive me more crazy than tourists because the tourists don't know what they're doing. Like this could be the first time they're in America. They have no idea how our culture works, and it's like I can't give them crap for being quote unquote stupid when they don't know how the culture works. Like the other day, like last week, I went to Canada with my family, and one thing that at least in Canada they do is when you want the check at a restaurant, you have to tell the server. Whereas here in America, a lot of times when you're dining out, the server just naturally brings it to you. So we were sitting there for like a good 10, 15 minutes. And my mom's like, are they going to bring us the check? And the first night we ate at the restaurant, we thought nothing of it because our server was pretty bad. But then the second night we had a server at a restaurant that was really good. And she was taking forever to give us the check. And I was like, I think you need to ask them. And sure enough, she asked our server and she brought it out real quick.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. But I can see how it's like you don't understand the way that the dynamic works in society. So you don't think to like you just expect it because that's what you're used to in your culture.
Mm-hmm.
Versus them coming here that they don't know, bro. They're not gonna can we get the check please? Yeah, we're ready to go. Like, it's like
Right. And the same goes with like tipping. Tipping's big in American culture, whereas Europe, Asia, not even considered.
damn. Damn. But like so I'm not like trying to justify it. Honestly, I don't know what to say about it because there's a lot of perspectives about it that I don't know. But I could tell you that over here, the minimum wage for the people who are servers, they don't really make as much as the cooks, right? Or like the back of house.
Yeah, it's like that everywhere, but at least here in California, servers make minimum wage. So LA, I think it's like 16 something. However, in other states, they have a specific law that says you can actually pay your servers or tipped employees less than minimum wage if you add their tips together and it is equivalent to over minimum wage. So in a state like Florida, Florida's minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. However, restaurants there can pay their servers $2 an hour as long as with their tips it's equivalent to at least $7.25 an hour.
Bro, what the hell? That's like some dude in accounting who just found a new way to be cheap.
Yeah, no, it's terrible.
One second.
And the problem is when you working in a restaurant is one of those jobs where you can make a living wage, and you don't really need many qualifications. Um, but the problem is, especially since the pandemic, is a lot of jobs are now being tipped jobs because it allows businesses to be able to pay their employees a living wage without actually paying them a living wage. Now, obviously, in California, like I'm not saying servers should be making a living wage like 25 30 an hour or whatever. It's like, no, pay them minimum with tips, but don't turn a job into a tipping job if it's not normally a tipping job. just because like you're not getting anyone hire you can't hire anyone because no one wants to make $16 an hour.
Yeah, and then what's crazy to me is like you have the people who have the audacity to just sit there and be like nobody wants to work anymore. You don't want to pay anybody to work anymore. How about
Mm-hmm.
that?
Yeah, no, especially since COVID, that has been an extreme problem. Because at the same time, too, when you go, like, if you just go on Indeed and you're looking at jobs, it's like, okay, I don't want to pay someone 25 an hour who has no experience. It's like, that's fine, but pay them at least like 20, 21 an hour. They'll
You're
work their way up to that 25, 30 an hour, but like, don't start them at 16 because they won't want to stay.
Nah, yeah, and you have to give people hope, right? I wouldn't say like give them hope and then like take it from them or anything like shady, but I'd say you have to give someone something to look forward to, so that way they realize that there is advancement. And if you take that from them, or if you just anyway don't like follow through with it, you're gonna get some very bad reactions from people.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Is a so I'd imagine you working. Matter of fact, hold on, I got something else I want to say. So you working on Hollywood, you're an actor. Like, how many actors do you see that come from that environment, and then they just stop by and they like get something to eat afterwards?
Not as much as you think. One of the things was I worked at a Dave and Buster's in Colorado when I lived there, and I really wanted to transfer to the Hollywood location, which I did. But my mindset at the time when I was living in Colorado was, get Dave and Buster's, you see all the actors and the celebrities and all that, and you do absolutely. I served John Legend the other day, so you do get them. You just don't get them as much as you think because at the same time, it's like it's Dave and Buster's. Like
Yeah.
if an actor is going to Dave and Buster's, it's because they are partying through playing games, maybe drinking, but they're not going there. Like a lot of celebrities, they want to go out to dinner, they want to have a nice meal with maybe a cocktail or a nice cocktail or something like that. That's not what Dave and Buster's is known about.
Nah, they don't want to see like a bunch of like regular dudes in their 30s who are like electricians, like trying to like split a yard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nah, I'd imagine. Although, one thing I would have said about the whole, what'd you say, Dave Legend or who was it?
John Legend.
John Legend. I would have walked up to him like, "Did you save room for dessert?" I'm kidding. I'm just
Nah, he's a regular, so we can't really do that too much. He goes there with his kids all the time.
Oh, okay. So he's type cool then.
Oh
He's
yeah,
type.
absolutely. And we use, he goes there all the time. He's good with myself and my coworkers. He just has fun playing the games.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. And then so like after work, what kind of stuff do you like to do? Like you personally?
Honestly, like I've enjoyed. I mean, I've been a big gamer. I have been struggling to find some games to play. Like it's been a real struggle, and I'm not happy about that. I really like. I'm sitting here being like, damn. I remember the days where I would be sitting here for hours, and really indulging myself in a video game, and that has not been the case. Big baseball, all that. Um, yeah, I've been really enjoying, at least recently, is editing those softball videos and making those softball videos. Um, because I think part of it too is the stuff I make because I go through. We take a bunch of photos and videos of our games, and I'll go through those videos. And just today, I was watching the videos, and one of the guys is standing in the shot and he's like, and someone else off camera is like, "Oh, how many outs there are?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know. All I care about is getting drunk." And he looks at the camera and
Yeah.
smiles, and I just turned that into a funny 10-second video that I posted to Instagram this morning, and it is like by far the most popular video on the Instagram page.
Yeah, because it's relatable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
People are like, yeah, I just want to get drunk. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
Like,
it's great.
I like that. I like his character. He really portrayed that role very well. Nah, but that's what's up though. And I think that like there are definitely some fun aspects of content creation. especially when you catch certain like aspects about life, because life is interesting and in and on its own, right? But when you get to catch it behind a camera and then be the one to play with it, like I think that's just such a fascinating thing.
Hmm. The one thing I'm like trying to be cautious about is burnout. Because as an editor, you could be sitting here all day, you're making a bunch of the content, but eventually you run out of footage to use. So you're like, obviously you can't just make more footage right here at your desk. It's like you got to go make the footage, but it's like don't crank out a shit ton of videos through the editing because you know you're going to have to go film more, and it takes a minute to just kind of prepare everything to go film more. Like for example, when we're filming during the games, we play once a week. So I could go turn
Yeah.
all that footage from our game this week, make something out of it, but it's like I can't use any more game footage until we play our next game. And there's no guarantee that like we're going to get some great footage from that next game.
Right. Yeah. You basically have to stockpile the content sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
or you can find little fillers in between, like kind of, but it has to be relevant. So I see what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah. Damn. What was I gonna say? But actually, so what I was thinking is you schedule it, right? You schedule it like maybe once a week, twice a week, but it seems like you already have like a weekly routine going on and stuff. But I think that um if you limit yourself to like one I don't know how I'm gonna say it, but niche of video content, then yeah, you don't really have much content to produce. But if you find something else that you like, right, then you know like how people do those funny bloopers or voiceovers,
Mm-hmm.
you know, of like baseball games or like football games and stuff.
Yeah.
Or, you know, maybe you can kind of like take someone through like a play that happened, like you just record an episode, like a little portion of it. You're like, okay, so this is what he did. Like people love that because people like me, we don't understand the hell that we don't understand anything that's going on in baseball, right? How
Right.
many
Yeah.
times have you seen me look over at Robert and like, and what are they doing there? Or like I'll look
Mm-hmm.
at you and be like, what's going on? It's because I want to see what you guys see, but I don't can see it.
Right. No, it's the same. It's the same in softball because I get girls all the time come up to me and goes, why did this happen? Why did you guys do this? And stuff like that. And I'm explaining it to them, but at the same time, it's like I've been playing baseball for 20 plus years. Like I've learned so much in that time, and I'm explaining it to you like I know you're gonna pick up on it like that. It's like, no, if I explain this to 5 year old me who is just starting to play baseball, I'm gonna have no idea what's going on. And that's something that like I've definitely learned playing softball is like you really got like they're not gonna understand what you understand.
No, I get that for sure. I was actually having a conversation with one of the contractors today because by far these guys have like freaking 30 years, 20 years, 15 years of experience on me. I have like three and a half, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but I do have like a really good understanding of things. So if you show it to me, I can understand it generally very fast. But one of the things that we were talking about was something similar. And then what we ended up talking about was like, okay, cool. I had an old supervisor when I used to inspect power poles at Osmos. I don't know if Robert told you, but
Oh no, I never told me that.
yeah, we used to inspect power poles, and this supervisor bro was very hard on us, but he was just so wise. And one of the things he taught me was basically is like when you have a very deep understanding for if you have a very can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay. If you have a deep understanding for something, you can basically like simplify it, right? So the more you know something, the more it can be reduced and simplified so that way you can speak to like a 9-year-old to describe it. That's how you know
Right.
you really know something.
No,
So
yeah.
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with you there.
Yeah, so it's like if you're speaking baseball to like 5-year-old you and you know you really want you want to answer this person's question, you're gonna figure it out. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But the cool thing about that is you're not always speaking to a 5-year-old. Sometimes it's like a freaking 30-year-old man with tattoos on his shoulders and they're talking about what's going on. You know, you can have a little bit more fun with it, you know?
Right.
So you know that's just a suggestion as far as like when it comes to like content that you could be doing on the side, because burnouts, you know, you don't want to burn yourself out, but you also don't want to burn yourself out If you catching my drift, you don't want to just keep, too
Mm-hmm.
repetitious. Keep it sexy. I
Yeah.
don't know why I said keep it sexy.
You need to put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah. Keep it sexy, bro. Keep it sexy. Yeah, but and the only reason why I say that is because like I do TikTok videos,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes I'll talk about God, because I feel like I have a really big relationship with God, and sometimes I really want to get that out there. I want people to know about Jesus. I want them to know what's in the Bible. So I'll record a video, and I'll keep doing these videos, and I'm like, yes. But then there's other aspects of my personality where I'm like, dude, sometimes I want to just put some funny stuff out there. I don't want to feel like every time I come to TikTok, I'm just like levitating onto screen. Oh, like nah, bro. And sometimes I want to crack jokes, or sometimes I want to be like, hey, yo, I want to spit some motivational game. Something that's like, hey, bro, if you've had your head down, don't even worry about that, bro. Like, pick your chin up. We all go through failures. It's just on the other side of some hard work. You got this. And then people are like, yeah, let's get it, let's get it. Like, that's the type of stuff. But I mean, if I only stuck to just the one aspect, bro, I'd be tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, think about how much energy that you bring, because what you're really doing is you're diversifying. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the word, right? You're diversifying. And so when you being the person who you are, showing up to like, fulfill these roles, or let's say you're making a movie or something, you have more range.
Yeah. No, yeah, 100%.
Hell yeah. Dang. And I'm really excited to see what you in 20 years is going to look like.
I mean, I am too. Hopefully it's what I hope it is.
Yeah, bro. I mean, so long as you keep work, it's gonna get there, bro. You're in LA, you're always one person away from a famous person who's looking for something.
Mm-hmm.
And hell, you might just hook somebody up. Like, you're not even trying to like get on people's good side. You're just being who you are naturally. And you might rub somebody the right way, and they're gonna be like, hey, bro, pull up. I got you. There's someone I want you to meet. And if not, at least you didn't sit there waiting on a wishing star. You actually created a platform for yourself. You created a way into the conversation.
Yeah.
And then people are gonna be like, yeah, Mason. Yep. We all know about, we seen that. We know that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you barely learning about him? That's the question. That's what we want to know. Yeah. So do you have any questions for me? Anything?
Not really. No.
Yeah. I get kind of what's the word? Damn, my mind's at a blank. Brain fart. Uh Like when you talk about yourself a lot. What is that?
I mean, you could say full of yourself, but I feel like that's a bit too harsh.
Yeah, no, but sometimes I guess I overshare. I
Oh, okay.
overshare. You see that's one way I could keep it sexy too. Probably
Mm-hmm.
not overshare. Leave a little mystery. Yeah, 1 second. Delicious. Some Canada Dry.
The ginger ale.
Yes, sir. That's crazy how you were saying you were in Canada, and that's what I'm sipping on right now. Some Canada Dry. Some Canada Ale. So I think that the this podcast is very what's the word? Positive, because I think we're talking about some very big stuff. But here's something that I usually like to do when I talk to people, because to me, and I'm just gonna lay it out there. Usually when I talk to people on this podcast, the type of thing that I like to like provide to the people, the viewers, is value, right? And in some of that conversation that we just had, people are going to be able to see a lot of value in that, just based off of listening to, your perspective and stuff. But I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to ask you that if you were talking to anybody who you feel like wanted to do something similar to what you're doing now, or at least getting their foot in the door, or maybe some advices that you could give to those type of people, what would you tell them?
I'd probably say take your time. I think one of the biggest things for me was I wanted to do this, and then COVID hit, and I was forced to sit around. and wait because I really wanted to move to LA, but and I was living in Colorado at the time. But one of the things I wish I did was in Colorado, instead of sitting there being like, oh, I really want to, I want to move, I want to move. It's like, no, focus on your craft here. Don't be like, oh, I'm going to start when I get there. No, continue it. Like I worked on it there, but I didn't really focus hard on it there. It's like focus hard on it there. So then by the time you come here, you already more prepared.
Damn, that's heavy right there.
Because you get people every single day saying and doing moving to LA. But I meet a lot of these people now because now I'm at that stage where I meet people who just moved and they're like, oh, I'm an actor. And now I'm at that point where it's like, oh, now I'm kind of giving the advice. Because I remember when I first came here and people are kind of doing the same for me. But everyone's so keen about moving here. And like I said earlier about like moving to the smaller market, you could live in said smaller market and through like like learning and stuff like that, be semi successful in that small market. And then if you do want to move to the big market to LA, go right ahead. I know an actress who she first excuse me, she started in Florida. Florida had something, but it was a lot of Atlanta, so like, but you didn't have to go far to Atlanta. Got built up something in Florida and then moved to the big market in LA to continue her journey.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And
Like you
she
don't
was
need
a
to start the journey in LA. You can start it wherever you live, but you can continue your journey in LA. I'm not saying don't move to LA. I'm just saying you don't have to wait to get to LA to start your journey. You can start it wherever you're at.
yes. Because you're just like you said, you're continuing from where you're at. You can start over there and you can, work something up, build yourself up. So that way you actually, by the time you get over here, you have something that you have been working on that you can add to, not just creating. And then okay, so and then what about you transitioning from different states coming over to LA? Like what can you tell the people about the culture?
Well, it was weird because I did grow up in California and then I lived in Colorado for a bit and then I came back to California. So getting that I didn't really experience that culture shock that a lot of people experience when they first moved to LA. Um I mean, LA, and it is, I grew up in San Francisco, so LA is slightly different than San Francisco, but it's also very similar. And one of the things that I noticed, especially, I did live in Colorado for 2 years, is LA and California as a whole is pretty cramped. And it's very busy. Like in Colorado, it's you're pretty you is pretty spacious. Like you don't feel kind of enclosed a little bit. You feel like you got just general room and stuff. I know it's just like any building or any apartment or any house you go into is always smaller here in California compared to everything else. But I think part of that is just because like the demand in LA is just so high. They're just trying to accommodate as many people as possible. I mean, obviously there's the general traffic, but no matter where you go in the country, you're going to get traffic. And I think LA's freeway system is probably the best built for the population compared to any other city. You go to the East Coast, like Boston, New York, DC, when they built those cities, it was the colonial times. So probably the only thing you had was people walking on the streets and maybe like horse and carriage. Well, those you can't just demolish the city and rebuild it from scratch to make roads to accommodate, a 5-lane freeway. Whereas LA, when they came up with their freeway system, LA was growing. LA was popular at the time, but it was growing, and it wasn't even close to nearly what it is today. So they were able to kind of set up the freeway system. I mean, there are blunders, like no system is perfect, but I think LA's road system is better prepared for the population and and can handle the traffic better than the East Coast cities.
Yeah, and then so but I'd imagine like you were saying the different demographic for the cities, you have those people, those locals that like their attitudes are different, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So like let's say they somebody from Pittsburgh, somebody from Pennsylvania, they come over to California, man, and you were in Colorado for a second, so you got to take a breather, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know what that's like because I used to live in Florida, I used to live in North Carolina, like I've traveled different places. So when I came back, there was always this, oh yeah, I forgot this is how this is over here. Like I'm so used to the coming, like I'm coming back, I'm so used to that. But like for the people who like they're barely coming over, they might not get that they're not going to understand the culture right up front. So it's like how like what is that like for people that you see that come from different states and they want to get into acting?
I mean, it's one of those. It's a lifestyle change living in California. You know, you get these people is people aren't like people are kind of more so in a rush here. They don't have time. I mean, it's the same in acting. You know, like if I meet a casting director and they might have a minute or two to listen to me, but they don't have all day. So it's like one of those things where it's like in Colorado, Florida, North Carolina, people, you have the space, people have the time. California, they don't have the time. Everyone's going always. Time is money, essentially. So if you're coming from like Pittsburgh, I've never been to Pittsburgh, so I have no idea what the culture is like. But just coming to California, it's like if Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh might be in a rush too, like the people there, but it might be like they could give you 5-10 minutes, whereas here in LA, they're giving you 3 minutes tops. So it's like us humans. I mean, we're literally doing it right now on this podcast. Is like we will stall time and just talk and talk and talk, but it's like they're here in LA. It's like get to the point. I'm not going to sit here and listen to you all day.
To be completely transparent with you, that's why I created the podcast, was because me personally, I like to have deep conversations with people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can't in the real world, you can't do that, right? Like we met at a bar a couple times. You see my personality type. I'm the type that I'm gonna ask a question, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Robert's always like, bro, you're being weird. Stop. Like, but I know my personality type around the right people makes the whole party go up, Like everybody's like, yeah. But sometimes it doesn't work and it backfires. So that's why he's like that.
Well, it's funny too because you say that like when you and Robert are at a bar together. When it's me and him, it's the same thing. He's you and I'm
Uh,
him. He's the one going out talking to everyone, and I'm just like, bro, just stop, please.
he's like that with me too, bro. Like there's been, I got stories, bro. I'll tell you about later, But shout out to Robert, bro. A lot of love and respect for that guy because he's definitely put me in situations where I was like, I don't want to do nothing, and then next, like there's a whole like now there's like a bunch of people around me that he brought over, and I'm just like, oh hell no. But when I do it to him, he can't handle it. So shout out to him.
Yeah.
So, but that's the reason why I did this podcast because that's my way of creating some space and time for people so that way I can get a little deeper because I don't like those superficial conversations.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm similar. I grew up here, so I have that mentality. Like, bro, I'm not listening to you all day. And I've never been a small talk fan. I hate it. I'm never gonna be like when I first meet someone, oh, where are you from, what do you like to do, what yada yada yada. And if you ask me that, it's like I'll answer it, but I'm not gonna go deep into it. It's like, where are you from? San Francisco. What do you do? I'm an actor. Oh, what have you been in? I might say like 2 productions, but it's like I'm not a dick. I'm not like being a dick like that. It's like, bro, I'm not I don't have the patience to sit around all day and have this conversation. I will do it to some people. I mean, I'm on this podcast, having this conversation. It's like I will do it, but I'm not doing it every single time, especially if I've just met you. And in California, in Los Angeles, you just meet people all the time. So someone who is from Pittsburgh and loves to have those deep conversations, has them all the time in Pittsburgh, is going to get that culture shock when it's like they're going to think to yourself, does no one like me? Because no one wants to listen to these conversations. It's like, no, they like you. You got to get to know them more to where they're actually going to be like, okay, I will actually now sit. I'm not going to sit and have this conversation the first time I meet you. I might do it the 50th time I've seen you.
Yeah, yeah. And that's exactly true because there's people who like I've seen dozens of times. What's up? What's up? And then after a while, then it becomes like a hey, handshake, and you feel like you've known them for a while, so then you can gradually have a conversation. But it takes time, especially over here, you know.
When
But
I first, well, when I first started Dave and Buster's, I didn't talk to anyone. Same thing, and everyone thought I hated them. They're like, "Oh, who's this guy? He doesn't like anyone." Yada yada yada. And now, everyone at Dave and Buster's, I would assume so, likes working with me and likes me as a person. But like, I've been there now 3 years.
yeah, so and like people will probably be like, oh, like why is it like that? Like, oh, don't worry about that guy. He's cool. He's probably feeling you out. You're probably just like a little thrown off by it, but like give it some time. Eventually, you'll see, and then they start to see and like, oh yeah, but they gave
Mm-hmm.
it time. It was true. Yeah. So I don't. Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that I feel like yeah, that makes sense. If you're from like a smaller city and then you're coming over here trying to have like these big talks with people who don't have time, they don't know you. It's like you're gonna get turned away really fast.
Right. And then you're gonna get that mentality like, oh, no one likes me, and you're gonna be here for a month and be like, I hate it. I want to move home. It's like, no, you got to give it time. And that's what a lot of people don't think too when they first move to LA is they think, "Oh, I'm going to be a big star actor in a year." No, I've seen people. There are people here longer than that have been here longer than me, and you could see that, like, everyone's path is different, their journey length is different, and it's like, some people it takes 10, 15, 20 years. Some people will get it in 3.
Yeah. And you know what? Another thing I want to say is that it could eventually kill you is who you are. You might just be like, oh, okay, damn. So like, let me be more like them. No, like that's wrong. Like you bring something to the conversation that nobody else brings because you're alive right now. You're an individual who thinks like how you think. It just might not serve your purpose to address it like how you do, coming from where you come from at a moment like now. But that doesn't mean that you're not good enough or that what you bring to the conversation isn't worthy. Like, and I feel like that's an important aspect to also talk about with those people because it's very easy to be like, oh, damn, no one like, okay, let me try to fit in then. I see these people, they're very serious and mean. So, like, let me, like, you don't know what the hell they went through, but like,
Mm-hmm.
let me do that too. And then they kind of start to, they kind of start to stifle themselves. But deep down, bro, like, if I wasn't who I am with you, with Robert, with me everywhere, I wouldn't even be doing this podcast right now,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Sometimes you gotta live, you learn, but eventually, you come back stronger from it. Yeah, so I think that's a good note for us to end it on because I can't think of anything doper to say.
All right.
Yeah, bro, but definitely all your plugins, shout yourself out, bro. Where can the people find you?
I got a big one, just Instagram. I'm Mason Holiday. Double L in the holiday.
For sure, for sure. Do you have a YouTube channel?
Not like an acting one. I've just on YouTube just have like my just general channel where I watch stuff. I haven't really set that up yet.
For sure. So whenever you do, go ahead and send me the link. I'll post it to this episode in the future. Send me the link. I'll add it to you, and then that would be a really good way for people to be able to like take a look at your videos that we were talking about eventually. But when the time is right. For the
All right.
meantime, everybody, I am Mason Holiday on Instagram. Like, comment, subscribe. I don't think you subscribe on there. I think that's
You
just follow.
can just my Instagram account is not set up for that. You got to be a bit bigger than your and my account combined.
Facts though, facts. Yeah, we're getting there. Little by little, every day.
Mm-hmm.
So and then obviously this episode, if you guys liked it, like, comment, subscribe, YouTube channel. And everybody have a great day. Mason, bro, thank you for coming out, man. I appreciate that.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, bro. And we'll kick it soon, you,
Oh yeah.
me, the rest of the guys. But yeah, brother, I'll talk to you later.
All right, for sure.
Peace, bro.
Peace.
I told you what I aim on. You hit me with a damn fine. Look what it's become. I'm so calm, I'm so calm. I'm so calm, I'm so calm. I told you what I aim on. You hit me with a damn fine. Look what it's become. I'm so calm, I'm so calm. I'm so calm, I'm so calm. I'm cold as ice.